There we go. Okay, well, I just played the wrong version of the video, but hey, first mistake for the night.
It was cool.
Well, I had all these cool lightning effects and flashes in there, and I just played the wrong one because I was trying to switch everything over. So, welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. We've had some last-minute changes that occurred to tonight's show. We had Jason Emmerich and Terry Brillhart, who were scheduled for tonight, but unfortunately, they ran into an electrical outage. A car had hit a electrical pole outside of their house and took out all their electricity. But luckily, through some last-minute modifications, we got Anthony Simonelli to come in and be our guest tonight, which is fantastic. And we'll talk about all sorts of things tonight. But one of the first things that I want to talk about is some changes that have occurred both to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence, this show, and Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, which is the group that we operate in. But one of those major changes is that for anyone having followed the show, we know that Chris and Audra were full-time co-hosts, and Ron and Lourdes filled in during many occasions where things changed. Chris and Audra were moving across the country. Well, we've got some exciting news, and that exciting news is that Ron and Lourdes have joined us permanently now, which makes for an excellent group. We've got really good talent, knowledge on the paranormal and almost every aspect of it. We've got great communicators, so it's going to be a fantastic show moving forward. So that was one of the announcements. And then Ron and Lourdes are also going to join EVPI, which is Entity Voices Paranormal Investigation. We've got some great things planned coming up in the future. I can't say what those are at the moment. But it's some exciting stuff, and I'm sure you guys, the audience, will want to keep an eye on it because it's going to be some great stuff. So as I'm just checking to make sure, this is the first time we're using StreamYard, but I really like it. So if there's any technical glitches tonight, I apologize. It'll be my fault for operating it, but
and we'll blame him.
Yeah, of course. But let's introduce Anthony because he's going to be our guest tonight, replacing Jason, who wasn't able to make it. But Anthony's got years in the paranormal. So, Anthony, why don't you just give us a little background on how you got involved in the paranormal and how it got you to where you are today?
Yeah, well, when I was a little kid, like age 3-4 years old, I started experiencing things. And as I grew older, it just got more stuff started coming to me. And back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s and all that, you couldn't talk to nobody about it. So when I got to an age like, 13, 14 years old, and I lived in a neighborhood that was surrounded by cemeteries. We were about 7 cemeteries around us. So we used to hang out there, and I used to experience things in the cemeteries. So I started investigating on my own at nighttime, just to show people. I wanted to get evidence to show people that I wasn't crazy. And I just, through the years, just got better, just got more equipment and everything else. I started pretty much doing it on my own. So now I got a team, and that's it.
That's awesome.
I mean, like I said, when I first started experiencing this in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, you weren't allowed. Those were the times you couldn't talk about it. So when in 2000s, you know, 2004 or 5, when the people started coming out with teams and equipment, that's when I got more into it and started, you know, buying this equipment and see if I could prove myself not crazy. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, and totally understand that. And yeah, there's been a lot of changes within the paranormal field in the last, you know, 10, 12 years. The launch of all the television shows have definitely carved the path to open up more people to be accepting of the paranormal and to be able to talk about it on a regular basis without having to feel like they need to hide that they've had experiences or experienced stuff. So on a positive note from the TV side, that has helped. And yeah, I can understand how, you know, years ago that would have been, you know, much harder to discuss and talk about because, you know, people shied away from it. So
you started, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Go talk.
Oh, no,
I could talk all night. I could talk all night about this. You kidding? I could talk as much as Ron. That's it.
Oh, shit.
Tony also can talk a lot.
Hey, when it comes to paranormal, I can talk your ear off.
That's all night long.
I have a question, Anthony.
Okay.
So when you said you started doing investigation by yourself. So how does it feel like when you're investigating by yourself? Because nowadays there's like groups. People have groups.
When you go by yourself, like when I first started, I was about 13 years old, and I was telling Ron and Laura, I started with you know, the basics, a compass, a 35 millimeter camera, and dowsing rods that I made out of metal hangings.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I didn't do it during the day because I didn't want nobody to see me do it. So I go there at nighttime by myself, which at times gets nerve-wracking because you're in a cemetery,
Right.
and every time something moves, it could be a rabbit, but you're ready to jump and run because you're not sure what you're seeing.
There's a big difference between investigating by yourself than with other people. Any little thing that goes off gives you that jump scare immediately. So totally understand.
Yeah,
that.
I was gonna say that. Aren't you not scared because you're by yourself?
Oh yeah, that's part of it.
And he had nowhere to hang his coat because he used his hanger to make the dowsing rods.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
my mother used to get
anybody that'll investigate in New York at night by yourself, you're going.
That's a good point.
Especially during the 70s. That was crazy in the 70s.
Yes.
Because they used to shoot needles out in the cemetery at nighttime. The heroin addict. So you know they'll be coming across them.
They were manufacturing ghosts as he investigated.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. As they OD'd, I investigated them the next night.
Hey, Tony, this is probably a good time to point out too how synchronistic this show is. That unfortunately we, you know, Jason Emmerich, who we would love to have, and he's so cool to talk to, turns out couldn't make it because of something electrical. And the gentleman who is kind enough to sit in with us tonight is an electrician.
Oh, you're kidding! Look at those coincidences.
Hey, how do you think his electricity got shut off?
Now that's funny.
I'm here. I'm here. He's not.
Oh man,
That's a true Italian right there.
Hey,
I wanted to be on the show. Yeah, I took care
Love
of
the
it.
accent.
don't worry, it's taken care of.
oh, I love it.
That's hilarious.
I love it.
That's hilarious.
So, Anthony, I have a question for you. So you started about 30-something years ago and with hardly no equipment.
Right.
So comparing when you first started and now with all the ITC equipment and things like that, how do you feel about that? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you mix the old with the new?
And I think it's the stuff that's coming out, like the SLS. I know it has its faults. You know, you can have a false positive, but if you know what you're looking for, because I'm a sensitive also, and I went to a couple of locations and somebody had SLS, and I'm like, look, I see something in that corner. So they swing the SLS there, and there's a stick figure in that corner where I'm saying there's something there. You know, so that kind of verifies certain things with me. The SLS, even what Ron's doing. I know that's what he's doing is from the past, but you know that box he just got. Well, I forgot the Ryan box. I think it's called.
Yes.
Ryan Talker, yeah.
The Ryan Talker. As soon as he turns it on, I was with them. Lourdes goes, "Do you want a Red Bull?" And the thing goes, "Red Bull." I'm like, "Where did that come from?"
That was the moment we brought it home.
As soon as we turned it on.
Yeah, we had lunch with Steve and Katie Holte from Holte Paranormal. They built these Orion Talkers. Katie makes them. It's phenomenal. We walked in. We were going to do a direct radio session with Anthony. He cracks open a Red Bull. I always play with this before we do the radio session, and it went Red Bull. I went, whoa, holy shit, put it back in the box.
And no, it does not have a mic. It's only phonetic sounds. It's not a radio sweep or anything like that.
Right.
So it's not like it heard the Red Bull and recorded it and it spit it back out because it doesn't have a mic.
Excellent
To
point.
record.
Sound fragments. It's got fragments that has randomizing for pitch and speed.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, no words, no word banks, no radio, no sweep, nothing. It's just fragments that it's randomized. You can speed change, you can pitch change, or it can do it random by itself. It's fantastic. But
that is amazing.
Yeah, I wanna see that thing sometime because I'm fascinated by it, and I know Ron, you've been talking about how you've been experimenting on all sorts of different levels with boxes like that, and it's kind of new to me. I'm familiar with the concept, but yeah, definitely that's got my curiosity up, no doubt about it.
yeah, I mean, I think you're the same way, and I know that you guys are all probably like with any equipment you look at. There's certain things that we've talked about this before in other shows where some things are maybe cookie cutter. It seems like a retread of the same thing, but there are a lot of innovative people who are making stuff in the field that you go, hey, I get what it does, and that's kind of an offshoot. There's a little innovation into how that's being put together. And so when I looked at Steve and Katie Holte's stuff, I was like, it's kind of innovative. I like it's a little bit of an offshoot. It's not like a cookie cutter, of something that you've seen over and over again. And even the demo video she did of the Orion Talker before we had it, the demo video had phrases in it. And there's no better sale than when the spirit closes the deal.
Right. So true. So true. Well, I mean, Steve's been producing
the salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Steve's been producing boxes for years, and he's very good at what he does. And I wasn't aware that he was producing a box such as that. But
his wife does it. His wife Katie Holte is they're a brilliant couple.
Yeah, they are. I agree with completely.
The Orion Talker series is her brainchild, and obviously they support each other in what they do. But she's making them, and from what I understand, she was even close to thinking maybe this project wasn't going anywhere, and I was like, no, you cannot. This is good. That's thing
awesome.
works.
Make sure you
it's a
share
good
that
box.
with your friends in North Carolina, would you? I'd like to get my hands on one of those.
Are they selling them?
She has the Orion Talker 19 already up for sale. If anybody's interested, any of you guys message me. I can tell you how much it is. I think it's reasonable. And again, it's a unique piece of equipment. We took it out in the field. We used it. We were at a Haldeman Mansion with REAP Investigations, Paranormal Investigations on Saturday in Bainbridge, Pennsylvania. Anthony Simonelli was with us. There's a rumor or a legend in one of the rooms about a child shooting animals out the window with a .22 caliber rifle. Anthony asked while we were running this thing, what gun or rifle did you use? And that box went rifle, .22 caliber.
Wow.
And I have it recorded. So it's delivered. It's at the time Lourdes and I ran it on the balcony. We were sharing a cigar, and it said Terrace. I asked where we were and what we were smoking. It says Terrace. Then it said Churchill, which is a type of cigar, and then it said on your terrace. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I already feel like I got my money's worth. I may even start tipping them now.
That's awesome, though. And that is really
I was
cool.
impressed with that box. I'm really impressed with that box. Wish I had that 30 years ago.
I know, right?
Well, that's the cool thing about paranormal research and technology, is that technology is just completely expanding and growing, and every time something new technology comes out, people find a way to take that new technology and apply it to paranormal research, which I find absolutely fascinating.
And there's a lot of successful products in all different fields that are the offshoot of that. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Post-it notes a success story born out of a complete failure of another product? The prototype for every tattoo parlor everywhere was originally designed by Thomas Edison as an electric pen.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. That's
And idea miserably, the tattoo industry took off.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a copier. You're supposed to a document. You're supposed to trace what the copy is, and it's supposed to write it on the other copy the same way.
Yeah.
It's originally a copier. That's what it was.
You gentlemen know your history. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
So real quick shout out. We got April Tricoli with us.
Hi,
April.
And then we got Adam.
Adam.
April was. We've got Briar Goodrich from Australia watching in with us.
Wow.
Say hi to
Yeah,
Briar.
they're always tuning in.
Oh, we got Bill Rathman.
Yeah, my dad is watching.
Awesome.
Hey, Dad.
That's awesome.
Watching.
Oh yeah.
April, who's watching, by the way, Intuitive April, she was also with us and Reap Investigations out at the Haldeman Mansion in Bainbridge, PA last Saturday. And she's phenomenal. That's also someone you want to talk to for her mediumship is through the roof. Like she was calling things, and people who knew the history even longer than we did at that mansion. She got stuff, and she was verifying stuff left and right like an audit. And they're like,
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
yeah,
She's gifted.
Yeah.
Wow. I put that up, honey.
Yeah.
so it makes this field fun. Is we get to play with our friends, so to speak, right? We get to we do a lot with Anthony. That's one of the things we love is that we feel like we it's very symbiotic. We learn from him, he learns from us. 30-something years of experience goes a long way. He's done stuff and he's been in the field for a long time. So I think when people like that fall out of the field, I think the field hurts for it. And when people like him stay in this, I think we all benefit from it, because that's, no matter how much we do, you can only cheat time so much with maximizing your research and your experimentation. And that experience is priceless.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And then, we've got all this technology nowadays that we're using to do investigations, but when it comes right down to it, no matter what part of life you're in, especially with paranormal investigations, there's nothing better than good old experience, intuitive nature, knowing where things are. You talked about April, you got, Anthony, as Tony calls him, Simonelli. I'm just kidding.
Simone.
Anthony with years of experience.
It's Simonelli.
Yeah. I know, I was messing with Tony.
For my own, I'm terrible with names. Always have, always will be.
That's why.
So note to anybody that wants to come on Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence, if you don't want your name butchered, don't come on.
Come on.
It's in
Ask Ron Yavakati or Anthony Simone or I'm known.
You get stuck with those Italian names, huh?
But to finish that's when you get the technology mixed with Anthony's experience in an investigation, you combine the two, or with April where you combine the two and you're getting those cross config, you can't call it contamination. What word am I looking for here?
Fusion. It's a fusion of.
Yeah, there you go.
Chris, you do the same thing. You have law enforcement background. That's got to be an asset.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, law enforcement background. I pick up details like that.
Yeah.
My head's constantly turning, and being a sensitive on top of it, it's almost overwhelming at times when we get into an intense environment. That's like when we went to the Oxbow Saloon. Tony We walked in, we were a little bit late, and Tony and Cherie were already there. And Tony goes, "Hey, go over to that corner." And my ears were already buzzing. And we were just, it's a phenomenal feeling. Most people normally would be going, "Wait a minute, this guy's nuts." But to me, it's almost fantastic. The Phelps Dodge Mining Hospital. When you guys finally get down to Ajo to visit the hospital, the Copper Canyon Research Center, that place, if Anthony ever gets down there as a sensitive, you just walk into that place and on a day when it's active, and on a day when it's not, because when it's active, you could just feel your skin just buzzing. The energy in that building is just phenomenal.
Oh,
yeah. One day we'll make our way down.
We've already been talking about it.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is one place we're going to miss dearly now that we're over here on the East Coast. That was a phenomenal place.
Yeah.
We have to drag you to north now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As an electrician, I get the same thing. When we go to locations like high EMFs, and people like, oh, this. I look down. I'm looking at the fuse boxes. I'm looking underneath where the wires are going. If there's a switch in the wall, I go with my my meter and follow. You can actually follow where the wires come inside the wall. So and even if I look at something and say, how would I wire that to know where the wires are coming in and stuff. Yeah. So, that helps with experience, being in the electrical field.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And when you're getting like high EMF readings, is it easier for you having that electrical background to say, okay, yeah, you're standing next to the thermostat for the house, or I'm sure that's a huge plus in determining what paranormal EMF versus electrical EMF.
Yeah, I was on a place at Clinton. It's called Clinton Road in New Jersey, and we're on the side of the road, and everybody's got high EMFs in this one location. So I walked to the location. I started following back and forth, and as I'm following, I said, "There's a power plant on the other side." So I'm like, "It's high EMF because there's probably wires buried under the ground here." And they're like, no, there's something here. There's nothing there. This is where the power, probably some of the wires come out. Because if I wired it, that's where I know what I would be putting the wires and the piping and everything to bring it out. So I know I would do it that way because it'd be the easiest way for me to get from point A to point B is through that. It might be a Z, going back and forth, but that's how I would wire it. So
that's how. Remember when we went to? I don't want to mention the exact location, but in Pennsylvania when we did that morgue. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And because of you, because that's the way I took it.
That's true. He bailed us out of that.
Yeah, because the EMF was so high, and then him as an electrician and knowing his stuff, he's like, the wiring. It's the wiring. It sucks.
Yeah, it
wasn't wired.
Almost fear cage levels. It was affecting your. It was off.
Yeah, it was very bad.
Nothing's properly grounded. Without the ground, you're gonna get high EMFs, and you can see where the ground was, and it broke, and everything. It wasn't properly grounded, so you can see it's going to be. And not only that, you get yourself out of those areas because it's going to get you sick.
Right.
Nauseous and everything else. High EMFs could get you really dizzy, nauseous. So you want to get out of that location too. So.
Hey, Tony, I don't know if you have a line of questioning or anything you want to go with. There's a couple of stories that we know Anthony has that the ghost hunting community needs to hear.
Then let's hear them. Like I said, for our audience who maybe came in late, our original guest lost power and wasn't able to be on the show. So we were fortunate enough to have Anthony come in and help fill in the gaps, and he's got some great stuff. So absolutely, Ron, let's hear those stories.
All right, we'll set him up for one. Well, first of all, we'll ask him about some experience thing too. But just for everybody watching too, we've been working with Anthony for a few years now. We met him at an Island Paranormal Society event. He's had his own Seekers Club of the Paranormal for a number of years, and honestly, as are all of you, he is one of our favorite people that we have met through this and then through anything for that matter. He's a good guy. He's a family guy. So people don't get any better than that. Let me say that first. That said, he's got a brother, Gerard, aka Noodles, who also investigates. We would love you if you told them the Hank in Gettysburg story.
Oh goodness gracious!
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, get your shirt.
I'm gonna get man.
I'm gonna get my shirt, Anthony.
Get it.
All right.
Go get your shirt. Why not?
Well, no, tell your story. I get my shirt after.
Put me on the spot here. My brother tells the story better than I do. But we were in a location, Tilly Pierce, the Tilly Pierce bed and breakfast at the time, and we were, we were sleeping. So I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I hear something wake me up. It says enough. So I'm like, I get up. My brother's sleeping, and my son was there too. My son Jesse, and I go out to the hallway because it was like a little hallway area. And I see a man at the end of the hallway, and he was staying at the hallway, and a little girl comes running towards me, and she comes running like into the room. So I start like, okay. I go so I start not freaking out, but I just feel like I have to draw, because a lot of times if I see a spirit, I will draw it. So I ran into the bathroom of the room, and I started drawing. And I started drawing this man, which I got the name Hank from, and the little girl I was drawing. So I'm in the bathroom, and my brother hears me in the bathroom. He comes in, he goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah." So I start telling him the story of I just seen this man. I got the name Hank and all this stuff. And my son comes in the bathroom and goes, "You okay?" And yeah. So I'm drawing. I was drawing really fast. Well, my brother, if you know him, I hear Ron laughing. If you know my brother,
wasn't he upset that this thing woke everybody up?
Yeah. If you know my brother, he was mad that I woke everybody up because of this guy Hank. So my brother goes to the door of the thing, pulls the door over, and lets one go. Really loud. He goes, "This is for you, Hank." So Ron and Laura, it's like, they heard the story. They loved the story. That night, my brother was held down. He couldn't get down. He couldn't wait. He was held down. He wouldn't let him up. He just held him down. So that was, pretty much it. Ron and Lourdes loved that story, and my brother.
His brother had video.
Ron talked to me. What?
Okay.
Right, Gerard had the video. Your brother had the video. He didn't realize there was cameras running. So when he stuck his ass away and let one rip, he didn't know it was being filmed.
So we got it on video, audio. We got it on 3 cameras and 2 audio recorders. This noise that my brother released out of his body.
Because he completely forgot that there was
So we had him do shirts.
So there's shirts. Yeah. I don't know it says Paranormal Proof. The new this is for you, Hank.
This one's for you, Hank. Yeah.
And then
That's funny.
It's started meeting the Class A, doesn't it?
So, yeah, my brother's very proud of that moment. It's one of his most favorite paranormal moments in the he ever had is doing that to Hank. It's like, but you gotta understand, back then we didn't have much money, so when we went there for the weekend, we ate what was it, White Castles, it was Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. That's all we ate in that day.
Fuel for thought.
Yeah.
Don't do investigations after you eat all that type of food. There's a lot of there's a lot of contamination. A lot.
Yeah, I think we were doing an investigation in the hospital when I think I had some burritos for lunch or before dinner or whatever it was.
You and Chris.
It was mainly me, but we won't talk about that.
You want to talk about that, Chris?
Don't be blaming Chris for that.
I wasn't blaming Chris. I told
It's like that scene from Shrek where the donkey goes, "I have my mouth open and everything." It's
Oh, man.
live and learn. Live and learn.
Oh boy.
Right.
Yeah,
So
those are moments.
On the
ahead, Ron.
flip side of something funny, what was the most sobering or eye-opening that there's actually wholeheartedly something to this paranormal stuff that you've ever experienced? And that's a lot of years that you've been doing this to look back on, but like, what would be one of the most, I don't say the most because it might be hard to come up with the one, but one of the most eye-opening, holy cow, this stuff is legit.
Yeah. What sticks in your mind the most?
When I was about 13 years old. That's when I first see my first full body apparition. We were coming home. Right, remember I told you I was surrounded by 7 cemeteries. I lived in a little town called Glendale, New York, and we were surrounded all by cemeteries. So everything we did was through a cemetery. So we went shopping to the next town over, or in Mill Village. So we cut through a cemetery to get there. So we were 13 years old, a bunch of guys, girls, and stuff like that. And so we go shopping at that place, and it started getting a little dark out, so we had to come back home. As we're coming back, we walked to where there's a hole in the fence, jump through the fence of the cemetery, because in New York, they everywhere has fences. You're not allowed in the cemeteries at a certain time. So we had a hole in the fence. We're about to jump through the fence, and we're all talking. And my friend was in front of me, and I'm talking to him. As I talk to him, I see a woman standing by a grave, standing there, like with like a white gown blowing in the wind. She had like red hair, okay, no feet, and she was praying over this grave. So I seen that. You're 13 years old. My first full body I seen. Before that, I was seeing shadows, heard my name and everything, but this is the first time I seen a full body. And I decided to leave that cemetery very quickly because I was nervous at that time. I went home, and that's when that night I had a dream of a woman like telling me to come back, come back, come back. And it was that woman. So the next day, I told my friends what I'm doing. I'm going to go back to that cemetery. I want to see what this is about. I was scared, but I wanted to check it out. I don't know. I just wanted to do it. So I go back to the cemetery with my 2 friends, and we start walking up this hill. And the hill, where they wanted me to come back to the cemetery was a hill where a church was burnt out. There used to be an old church in there that was burnt out. So it was just the ruins of the church on top of this hill. So I start walking up the hill. And as I'm walking up the hill, I got a bad feeling. I told my 2 friends, "You guys stay here. I'm going to continue." They're like, "No, we're not let you go." As they said that, a branch fell between them and me.
Oh,
Wow.
It just fell, boom. They looked at me and they said, "Okay, you're on your own." They ran away. That's it. They're gone. So they left me there. I walk into the middle of the church, and I feel like cold hands on my back pushing me. And so I started walking. It's like, I'm going with this. I'm freaking out, but I don't know. I just wanted to do this. I get to the grave. It stops. I don't feel the hands on my back no more. I look at the grave. I see a name Mary on the grave. So I'm like, I don't remember anything else. Just name Mary. So now at this time, I had enough. I start running. A little fat kid running across the cemetery is not that good. And
Funny.
it's you run out of breath very quickly. So we got there. I got so far. I stopped. I'm holding my stomach, breathing. I look over. I look at it. There was a grave next to me where I stopped. It said Mary. It was the same damn grave. So I start running again to get out of there. And again, the third time, I seen the same grave. At that time, I hear my friends calling for me, and I ran to them and I left. So right after that, it's like I feel that I have to prove myself because my friends thought I was all crazy. The biggest thing they used to say back to me in the 70s when I told them about this, what drugs are you on? So that was that was what really turned me into like I want to prove myself and start searching and start going out there and looking and try to prove that I'm not crazy. And to all those people that said I was, and I lost friends because of it. I have people that in my because I'm Catholic, so I had some of the people that were going to church and stuff thought I was looking for the devil and everything. So that's why I wanted to prove these people all wrong about me, that I was not crazy. So that's part of the reason I got into the paranormal with that. So,
did you ever go back to Mary at all?
I went back there years later. I started a meetup group in New York called Paranormal Seekers Club, and I took people back there, and I noticed in that location, it's a children's location, and most of them died in 1918. In 1918 they had the Spanish. The Spanish flu,
Yeah.
well, where a lot of children died on. So that was the location where they buried them. Because back then, a lot of times they didn't bury children with their parents. They buried children on their own in a different location.
Oh.
So, yeah.
So was that one of your scariest moments, paranormal moments, or have you had any scariest paranormal moments that you can remember right now?
Scariest?
Yeah, like something that really frightened you.
Have you been scratched, pushed, punched?
All the above.
But there's nothing that really with me, it's the Hinsdale house. The Hinsdale house scared the crap out of me. So that's
I love that place.
Yeah, I do too, actually. But
she scared the crap out of us at the Hinsdale house. Everybody who knows her knows she's like sweet and kind, and she doesn't raise her voice. And we were sitting doing an EVP session, and she goes like this to the window behind her, and then me and the other girl, Haiti, noticed it, and we went, "Wait, did you hear something?" She went, "No." "You sure you didn't?" Because you turned her. "No, I didn't." "But you turned her. I didn't hear a thing." I'm like the Exorcist. Okay.
That was Cherie at the Oxbow Inn that night that you were getting pinched and poked. You were not you at all.
Yeah.
We call it Hinsdale Lourdes, and we bring snacks ever since.
Ever since they bring snacks.
That's what scares. What scares me on investigations is not feeding Lourdes. You got to feed Lourdes.
Yeah, Loki before the investigation.
Yeah, that's how she got her name, Loki. You got to feed her.
So you don't have any moments like that, a place that gave you,
Yeah. Did any place or any location or investigation really shake you up a little bit?
Or experience, whatever. Yeah.
Anything that really shook me up? When I first went into Hinsdale, I was nervous, but then I didn't. While I was there, it wasn't bad. I really can't think of anything right now. I mean, everywhere I go, anywhere you do, if you're not scared or nervous to go into it, there's something wrong with you.
True. That's true.
I mean? You just have to go to these locations and, you have those moments where you jump and something might pop up or, you're like, wow, a wow moment. But everywhere you go, you always have to have that little fear, but you don't show it because you don't want the spirits to know.
Right. And that's such a good point, Anthony, because when you're going to a location too for the first time, you have no idea what you're walking into, what types of spirits you're encountering. And if you don't have that little background sense of fear in you, you could make some big mistakes walking into something you have no idea that you're walking into. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, I've done people's houses and certain locations, and you get to like a closet or maybe even down the basement or an attic, and you'd have that feeling, I'm not going in there. It's like that intuition inside you, like there's something really bad that you're not going to go and, deal with because, it's something you might not be able to handle. So
that's so true.
I've been locations like that, but nothing really wow moments like got me made me run out of the place. No.
Yeah, it's a weird sensation too. You almost feel it in your gut and it sucks up into your ribs and you almost get that nauseous feeling. We went to a place, I'm not going to say it on here, but we went to a place. It was me, Audra, my son, and his fiance, and we were doing a tour of a place that is just completely full of haunted objects. And we got to one section of the tour, and I grabbed all three of them, and I went, no, don't go in there. Because I had that sensation right there in my gut where the rib cage starts, and I was starting to get nauseous, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. But those are the ones that scare the hell out of me. It's when you get that feeling that that something in there's just not right. Those are the ones.
I love that too. I love that, especially with Chris. It's fascinating to me because of between his instincts and law enforcement, and then even Anthony too. When you're sensitive that way, they've done studies in science. It's a PMIR. It's a psychical or psi mediated instrumental response. It's a scientist named Ken Stafford. I think it's Stanford was his name. Did studies, and he was trying to prove that luck didn't exist. That our sensitivity to like ESP based kind of connection guides us. So it's not just happenstance, that we're actually communicating with the receptors with those energies and being guided, not just freak luck, but it's actually somewhat of a subconscious, but a directive choice to do stuff like that. So when you look at people like Chris, who's got on a conscious level, law enforcement training, and then on a psychical level, a sensitive, and same with Anthony, having the abilities he has and having sensibilities with being an electrician, you wonder sometimes that maybe people undervalue those instincts because that's a lot of intuition from two different places kind of fused together, directing you, and then you're getting physical manifestations that are, feelings, nausea or whatever, nervousness where your apprehension, you're like, no, we're not going in there. And I think often those things don't get the value that they should. And a lot of people say that the most instrumental tool we have is us. But I mean, that to me is prime and training.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
The best tool. Your intuition is a tool. And just go with it all the time too. Because you might go to a location, you might bring something home with you. As much as you want to, you try to be safe to not bring anything home. You protect yourself with sage or whatever, holy water, whatever you want to do, your prayers. There might always be that something that's going to attach to you because it's not attached. It's attached to something that it likes about you. It's something that attached to do with you, or something that makes itself related to you. Or it might just remind themselves, that they were just like you. So you're always going to have something follow you. So when you go to location and you just feel something, go with what your first instinct is and not do it. I'm not saying be afraid, but don't do it.
It's like I tell my girls, because the intuition, that instinct, we all have it. And I just in non-paranormal sense, like when I speak to my girls and I tell them, if you're in a situation and your gut, you feel that there's something wrong, that means there's something wrong and you should go. You know what I mean? So yeah. So
you're right.
It's true. The body is your tool.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And they always say that in any investigation, your best tool is your own body because you're going to be able to sense things, feel things, get instincts, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that probably is the number one tool to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And Tony, you're
for Anthony.
Oh,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Ron.
No, go ahead. I was going to ask your husband's question, so you ask Anthony first.
Oh, okay. He's Anthony also.
That's right. We got two Tonys here.
I know we got two Tonys.
Legally, yes.
Legally.
Nothing wrong with Tonys. Hey, don't mess with the Tonys.
Two Tonys and no witnesses.
Yeah, I don't like any witness.
Careful, we can make your power go out too, Ron.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, hey. Well played, Mr. Rathman. Well played.
So, do you have any like ritual before and after investigation or protection?
I just say a prayer. I say the Our Father, that and the pretty much that. I just pray to God that just to protect me going in, and then when I leave, I always say a prayer. I say it to myself as I'm going home and stuff. If anything's in the car, I just tell her you have to leave. Pretty much that's it. Once in a while, people there have stage and they throw stages on me, and okay. But I pretty much say my prayers. Your protection is really what you believe in. You have to have a strong belief in something. If it's God, if it's something, whatever your religion is, if you have some kind of belief, you can use that to help you protect yourself. Something strong that you feel that's going to help you. That's pretty much it. I just say a prayer. Things do follow me home, but now when things follow me home, I accept it more. And it's weird because when I started accepting things, I'll be sitting there watching TV at nighttime and something will walk into the room. And I just tell it, sit down, watch TV with me.
We've had that happen many times, many times. And it takes getting used to, but yeah, so far we haven't been harmed or so.
Right.
Yeah. I not that I welcome it. I just tell her, sit down, enjoy, watch TV with me and stuff. And it's weird because after I start doing that more, these things don't bother me as much. Before they used to follow me and they do something, they hide my key. Something's always something in the house. They try to make you scared or whatever. And after I start welcoming and say, hey, sit down and watch TV, well, and they don't seem to stay long. Maybe they want to.
Maybe it's your programming choices that are exercising the entities.
Maybe. I don't want to watch this shit. I'm out.
It's funny because most of the stuff I watch are paranormal shows.
Yeah, there you go.
Shore. He was watching Jersey Shore. They had to go.
Usually the unwanted entity that follow him home is us.
Good buddy.
You guys always welcome my house, Ron, Lourdes. My wife loves you guys. I don't know why. She loves you.
Speaking of that, so what does your wife think about paranormal? You doing investigation? Is she also involved?
Not at all. Not at all. You guys are all lucky. You got your wives and your girlfriends all involved. I don't have that. So you always have that moment like, are you going away again? No. There you go. Where you go? You go look for ghosts?
Yeah. And she worries about you during investigations too, right? Or not so much?
Not so much now. She used to. When I take my son with me, I think she worries more about my son being affected by it. But right now, like are you going again? Go ahead. I can watch my shows.
You're always sitting there watching them with the ghost. She finally gets some TV time.
Yeah, that's it.
There are some advantages for you, Anthony. I mean, you're not fighting with your wife about what an EVP says.
Yeah.
That's true.
We do that all the time.
We all did.
Oh my God! Did you hear that? I didn't hear shit. How did you hear that?
Yeah, we all have that same. We all have that same problem.
Well, I do play like this stuff if I hear any EVPs or whatever I see, and I do show her, and she's like, "Wow, that's it," you know, and you know, pretty much she agrees with me with the most of the stuff. Maybe just to shut me up, but
we did a direct radio voice session a couple weeks ago at Anthony's place for the first time, and his wife is an absolute sweetheart. She sat in with us and kind of listened to it. And we already pulled some stuff from it. It was a quite responsive session, I would say, right? And that's something I guess to talk about too. Anthony's been doing this for 30-something years. The direct radio voice methodology from Europe dates back before any of us were in this field, but it's newer to him as it's even newer to us. And so we brought him in. He's been helping us with some of the research for the last couple of months. And he's been really helpful and instrumental in some of our progress, and I think he probably has some of his own thoughts with how you labeled it before, Anthony. This is something that's kind of from the past, but it really should be part of the present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed a lot of things in the past that's forgotten, and everybody wants all this new technology, but you got to remember they were getting stuff back then on all this. On this, like Ron's radios. But Ron's radios are older than me. And they were getting stuff on these things. So we can't forget where the past is. You can't forget where you came from and going ahead into the future. You got to remember some of that stuff and bring it back. I think some of that stuff should be brought back.
I love mixing old with the new. I think that's a great idea when you mix some of the old with the new. I think that's a good method to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jed has a question. He's curious. I have it posted below. He's curious what Anthony thinks about the afterlife. Any response on that, Anthony?
What I think about the afterlife?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I think there is an afterlife. I see. The whole thing is, I feel that there probably is a heaven. There may be a hell. But being an investigator and seeing all this stuff that I came across all these years, spirits being here, I feel there is something to that people, if they can go on, they stay here because of whatever the kind of life they lived. If they lived a bad life, they're afraid to go because if they believe in heaven and hell, they don't want to go to heaven or hell. They don't want to go to hell, and they know they're not going to go to heaven. People want to stay here. I feel some people want to stay here to see their families go on. So afterlife, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll find out one day. We'll all find out. But when it comes to an afterlife, I just think, I'm not sure right at this moment. And all the stuff I experienced, because there's reincarnation, people believe in that and everything else. And I just like I don't think we come worm bait. I think there's our energy and our bodies go on somewhere, and where it goes, I don't know.
Yeah,
right. That's one of the scientific platforms that they talk about too. Is that I don't know if it was Hans Otto Koenig, who's an ITC practitioner from Germany, who was saying that we don't. It was either him or what's his name, Ernst Sinkowski, that had said that it's impossible to communicate with the dead. By definition, something dead is inanimate. However, if life continues beyond the physical material realm that we're in now, then it's not death or dead you're communicating with. It's a continuation of the life, or hence afterlife, continued consciousness. So sometimes the jargon that we use is positive or not positive branding for our own field.
Right, because they just said we're not dead.
Right.
We're not.
That happens to a lot of people, I think. Right. That's a good point. That comes up a lot.
We get that response very, very often, and the definition of dead, is a is a definition based on your human life. But yeah, if your soul, that energy is going to continue, change form, whatever, that spiritual essence is going to live on. And so to them, when we say, oh, when did you die? And they're like, we're not dead.
Well, it depends also what happened to them. I mean, like, was it a sudden death or?
True, but what we're calling as humans dead, and trying to explain to them, when did you die? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm still here. I'm communicating with you. I'm answering you. I'm not dead. So it's just a definition of what our definition of death is and what theirs is. They're not dead. They're answering you. They can't be dead.
Right.
Yeah, you hear the term physical death used a lot for that reason.
True.
You almost notice it through history too. Back in the 1930s, 1920s, even earlier than that, they would say that people died, and as it progressed, it's gone to now they say people have passed on or they're no longer with us. It's almost like there's a subconscious to some people's understanding that they actually realize that we don't die, we just move on to something bigger and better, or we come back and visit every now and then, which is some of the stuff that we're picking up. Because even a residual haunting is nothing more than energy that's imprinted on the area that you're investigating. But an intelligent haunting, those are people that are still here that have either chose not to move on or come back to visit and say hi. I mean, it's like when we go to the hospital, there's tons of, there's many, I wouldn't say tons, there's many spirits that come in and out of that place that sometimes we get them to respond, sometimes we don't, like Mary. I mean, Mary's been there a few times, and then there's been quite a few times where she's not there, which means that she comes and goes as she pleases. So,
I call those visitors, visitor spirits.
That's the best way to put it.
Souvenirs.
Souvenirs. So our physical being dies. It's just a vessel that we choose that our spirit has chosen when God passes us on earth. I mean, this might just be my belief. I don't mean to try and shove that onto everybody else, but it's just a physical. It's a physical vessel that we have chosen, or we've chosen our parents, and they've that's what God has chosen for us. But when that physical, when we've worn it out, and believe me, nobody understands better than I do. When you've worn it out, your energy still continues. You've passed on. You've moved on. It's no longer dead and just your physical form.
Right.
Chris made a really brilliant point. I really love that too. That there could be an underlying momentum or movement to the terminology and the vernacular and what we use to describe passed on and dead like that, where it could be an evolving of an acceptance maybe, or a little bit of a paradigm shift in things becoming more realized of what could be possible, and maybe there is a continuation. That was a great point and a really great way to explain it, because sometimes movements happen like that. They're not always revolutionary. Sometimes it is evolutionary, and it gradually permeates. That was a great point.
That was a very good point. Well stated too, Chris.
Yeah.
Question over here from Jenny Valier.
Yeah, from Janie. She wants to know, Anthony, what you think about demons.
What I think about demons. I was married to my ex-wife.
See, I knew that's gonna come up.
I was just about to say I divorced one and left her in Phoenix.
Perfect definition, completely self-explanatory.
There you go.
I haven't, all the years I've been doing this, I know I came across a lot of negative entities. Demons, I've been on investigations where people said there were demons on, but I never really experienced anything like that. Like I had a lot of negative stuff happen. Sometimes I feel like a negative entity is going to come across like a demon to scare you more, to get you away. Like I said, I never really came across demons, and I'm not looking to come across demons. Sure. I don't play with Ouija boards. I don't do that kind of stuff. So I guess I don't open myself up to it. Like I said, I've been coming across a lot of negative entities. I've been scratched. I've been bit. Stuff tried to even get into me and try to possess me at times. but I don't know. Like I said, I really haven't come across them. So I really, like, if I did, I don't know I have. So sorry, I can't answer your question any better than that.
Except for the ex-wife.
Yeah.
The whole answer was honest.
Yes.
That's the only thing I came across.
Anthony Breyer, wants to know if you have a favorite location.
I have a favorite location. Yeah, Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. That's my favorite. Dan's great. The owner. And I've been there a couple of times. Middle of the night, door that you lock, all of a sudden unclicks, opens up the front door, and you're downstairs. You can hear kids laughing and running around upstairs on the second floor. You go up there, there's nothing there. As you're walking down the store, they start laughing at you. That's one of the best locations I have been to so far.
It's a very active location. It really is, and it affected me, and I got scared, and I still want to go back because even when we were sleeping, we can hear voices upstairs.
Hold on a second.
We were
Yeah, that place is heavy. The only time I ever felt like I did at Hinsdale was when I had an attachment problem when I lived in LA. When we approached Hinsdale, it very much felt the same to me. And then everybody, it was like 5 of us. Everybody had like nausea or anxiety.
Yeah, it was pretty.
We stepped out. We went and get food. When we came back, the mood turned jovial, and I think that positive energy may have disrupted what we were starting to feel overcome by, and then it turned it around. But Hinsdale it was no joke. That place is legit.
Yeah.
I think you can't evaluate it like, we've been to Eastern State Penitentiary. People have gotten amazing evidence there. It was very quiet when we went, all considered. So could somebody go to Hinsdale and blank out? Yeah, possibly. Does it mean it's not haunted? No, it's for us. But for Hinsdale Lourdes, holy cow! I didn't move.
That's really funny, but there's some truth to that too. There are certain locations that affect certain people differently, and clearly the Hinsdale House has an effect on Lourdes, and I know the Oxbow has an effect on you. And I'm not going to lie, I had some pretty intense experiences at the Bel Air House, and so I think different locations.
Winslow, Arizona. Winslow.
La Posada.
La Posada.
Yeah, I had one there too, but of course, there's lots of them that I can think of that had impact, but there are just certain locations that I think certain people either have an attachment to or some sort of personal connection that affects them differently than it might other people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, I've been to Katie's Bar in Smithtown, New York, and I was there, and I was down the basement of the place, and there's a line in the middle of the basement where the old building to the new building was. They said on that line you got a lot of activity, and I was sitting there, and I had my meters in front of me and everything, and all of a sudden it felt like an electrical charge trying to get into the back of my neck, and my arms just locked up on the bar. And I couldn't move my arms, and my arms stood right up, and I'm telling the person that was with me, there's something got me. As I'm saying that, all my meters went off. The Mel meter went off. The Mel meter went from like 12.2 on the meter. I'm like, that's regular, like that's voltage there. And I'm holding on to this thing. That went off. My K2 went right into the red. I had this other type of EMF meter, and that started going off. And this all happened in front of me. And the millimeter, the temperature went from it just went like to like 90 degrees on it, and it was like 70 degrees most of the night down there. It was crazy, and that it was like something was like trying to get to my neck, and I'm holding on, and I'm like, you're not welcome, and I started screaming, you're not welcome, you can't come into me, you can't come into me. and then it all of a sudden just stopped, and my hands released from the bar.
Wow.
So that was the effect I had at that place. I was actually being attacked there. And I went back there quite a few times after that. But
because that's what we do.
Didn't stop him. Didn't stop him.
Didn't stop.
That was a great.
I had my best investigation there. They had, because it's a bar, and they had open mic night. So I'm standing at the bar waiting for we had to wait till the bar closed before we could investigate. And some guys come over to the bartender and say, "Hey, we need a drummer to go on stage." And they look at these young kids like, I said, "I'll play drums for you." They look at me like this old man, you can't play drums. So I go up there and I start jamming with them on stage, and they went crazy. The kids started marching and everything out there. And then when I got done, that was like the best night of my life, because I got to play the drums and investigate all in one night. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
How cool. How cool.
You know, I got to jam. And those kids are like, "Oh, you're so good. You're so good. I've been playing before you were born, kid."
Adam had a good question. Good question from Adam. Adam asked,
Adam Nodler from SIU, who was just on.
Yeah, he asked what was your best evidence captured?
Yeah, the best evidence you've captured, Anthony.
Yeah.
Best evidence I captured. Okay. I'm trying to think, because I have so many different things. Well, this is weird. Back, it was like, my brother was working down the trade center. My mom passed, and it was like a Wednesday. I know it was a Wednesday. My brother was working down, and this is like 2012, after everything was, going on down there. And I went to pick up my mom's ashes, and my brother's working down there, and I call him up. I said, "Gerard," as I call him up, and the phone rings, and all of a sudden the phone gets like the static, and it sounds like somebody talking, static, shh, and it goes, "Help me, shh, help, shh, it burns, shh." And I'm like, "What the hell is it?" So being investigated, I go and I got a recorder and I record what's on my phone. A couple days later, I see my brother. I said, "Gerard, I just went," and he goes, "Did you call me the other day or something? I got this really weird thing. I don't know who called." And I played it too. He played it. So the static, his thing was same thing as mine. It was weird because where he was, the location was where the trade centers was.
Wow.
And we were getting the static saying, it was like static, and then it said, "Help me."
Wow.
It burns. Shh. And then you hear somebody screaming. I played this one. I played this for Ron and Lourdes too.
Yeah,
And
it's intense.
Wow.
When I first heard it, because I knew people that died down there that actually, we call it murdered, because that's who they were.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew about 27 people. I knew a lot of people from my union and from friends and people that lived in my neighborhood, and people I hung out with as a kid. I knew a lot of people that died down there that day, and tears come to your eyes when you hear it, because you just hear it. It's like, "I'm burning, help me," and
Wow.
That was sad to hear. Yeah.
and my brother got the same thing, so I recorded his also, and I got it. It's sad. Really, it's sad.
You know what's fascinating about this too, and I joked around earlier about synchronicity in the show, but Adam Nodler asked that question, and so Adam, I originally met when he lived in Pasadena. Now he's in the Northwest by Portland, but he's been to New York a couple of times, and we investigated with him on his own wandering around Manhattan. He took time and ran his obelisk and did a couple little things near the World Trade Center area. So it's completely, to me, synchronicity here that he asks Anthony for a best evidence story, and then one of the things he has is something that has to do with the Trade Center.
I agree with that comment completely, and that's more than just coincidence. That's synchronicity. I think you're right.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so it's true.
from a patriotic standpoint, I'm kind of glad that you said that, because I saw Lourdes's post the other day about her experiences with 9/11, and we're only 5 days past the anniversary of 9/11, and it's stories like this that, and I don't mean to change the subject from paranormal to impact, but I'm glad stories like this still come up, because it's people like you guys that are actually there in New York that had the impact that helps the rest of us in the United States. That is a day we should not forget. And these stories are important that they get told, whether it be on the paranormal side of it or just telling a story alone. I'm glad it actually came out on the show, because being so close to 9/11, it's something that needs to be said so we don't forget.
That's right.
Never forgot. We'll never forget.
Yep.
I flew my flags those days, riding around my car with my flags on, never forgot. It was a scary time. It was a really scary time to be in New York.
And it was great, though, how everybody pulled together and helped each other out. And I just wish that people would do that now, because people really got together and helped one another. It didn't matter if you knew them or not, strangers. Everybody just got together. And that's the way it should always be,
Yeah,
it's
very
sad.
true.
And pray for all the
Full
people.
disclosure too. Full disclosure, just for accuracy's sake, for the story and for the admirable words that Chris just had about it. Anthony and then Lourdes were here when that happened. That was during my 14 years in LA. I was there from 2000 to 2014, so I wasn't there for it. But I had a friend who lived in LA actually who was in Manhattan when it happened. But just for full disclosure, I was party to this from afar and startled as anybody was who witnessed it at the time, because my family and I knew people who did live here, but I wasn't here for that. I felt like that was
My brother was down there. He actually witnessed the second plane hitting.
Wow.
It went over his head, and he said all he heard was the engine rev and then disappearing into the tower. And then his friends the guys with it, because he was working down there. They were marking streets for ductwork and stuff, because they're going to do construction. 2 guys he was with fell to their knees. He grabbed them and goes, "Let's get out of here." And he was out there before it collapsed. Thank God.
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? That's probably a good place to wrap the show up. It's kind of a good ending to knowing that, bad stuff like that has occurred here. And, we don't ever want to forget that, and the loss of lives that occurred in that absolutely tragic event. So I just want to say thank you, Anthony, for coming in last minute. It was great talking with you and getting to experience some of the things you've gone through. And I know there's hundreds of thousands more, but time, of course, we can't go through them all. But I want to really say thank you for coming in last minute and filling a spot that we had. This was a great conversation, great show. Again, Ron and Lourdes, thank you. Chris and Audra, always thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to thank our audience for everyone who was bringing in questions. That was fantastic. I do love our new software, as it allows us to actually post those questions. What were you going to say?
Well, I think Anthony is also with the Paranormal Night Shift.
Yep. I was gonna
Yes.
Thank you, because I was about I didn't want to interrupt.
Season 1.
I don't want to forget it, but
It's a new show just started, Paranormal Night Shift. It airs Friday night at 10 o'clock on Travel Channel. It's also on Hulu, live, and also the reruns. And I'm going to be on episode 13. I'm in the finale of the show.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Season finale with the Simonelli.
Travel Channel and all. Yeah.
All the way from New York to Hollywood, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too cool. Well, anyway, okay, I am going to say goodnight. Chris, you want to give our typical closing line?
Everybody stay haunted. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.